An unexpected walk. They met again, and the world seemed to stop before their eyes. A big night, where no one expected what happened. That year's award ceremony was bigger than any other. Lights lit up the endless red carpet, the media crowded, the artists' names were called everywhere, and the atmosphere was electric between the luxurious seats. Jamie attended because his new film received a big nomination. Dakota was invited to present the award for Best Director. They had no idea the other would show up. No overlapping schedules. No advance notice. No rumors. Just two lives that had gone in two different directions. And tonight, accidentally walked through the same door. I, Jamie, walked into the theater, the lights shone on my black suit, the sound of the camera sounded like a storm. I smiled politely, shook hands with a few colleagues, and sat in the middle row, feeling completely normal. There was no warning. That in a few minutes, everything would change for me. The moment I heard her voice, it was like time nearly stopped. The ceremony moved along in its usual rhythm, introductions, bright stage, loud performances. I was a little distracted. Award ceremonies are always too bright, too loud, too fast. Until the host said, "Please present the next award, Dakota Johnson." Applause erupted. The room rose partially. My heart stopped. I turned my head, very slowly, as if afraid that if I turned too fast, everything would vanish like a mirage. And out she went. Dakota. In a soft white dress like a breath, her hair loose, her face glowing softly under the stage lights. Not the Dakota of yesteryear. Not the Dakota of my hazy memories. But the Dakota of the present, peaceful, mature, beautiful in a way that makes my heart beat wildly and cannot stop. She held the microphone. But before speaking, she looked down the hall. Searching for something. Or someone. I don't know. But when her eyes stopped, exactly on my row, I knew she had found it. The first look in many years, and the world disappeared. She looked at me. Not long. Not trying. Just a small moment, but enough for the whole hall to fade away. No more applause. No more lights. There were no longer hundreds of people around. Just the two of us, as if all the old chapters had opened in an instant. Dakota's eyes were the same. Gentle, understanding, and carrying the peace I had been running from for years. I wanted to stand. I wanted to say something. I wanted to go to her. But my body just sat there, motionless, as if imprisoned in memory. Dakota blinked very slightly, a blink that only those who have loved in silence can understand. Then she began to read the nominees. But I couldn't hear a word. Dakota, the man WHO didn't expect to see him there. I didn't know Jamie was coming. I didn't look for his name on the guest list. I hadn't thought about seeing him tonight. I'd been avoiding any potential places for years. But when I stepped onto the stage, the moment the spotlight hit me, I felt a sense of foreboding led me to look down. And I saw him. Jamie. In his black suit, his hair a little messy, his eyes wide with disbelief. I almost dropped the microphone. For years, I'd kept myself from feeling it. The feeling of my heart pounding out of my chest. The feeling of something unsaid suddenly having a sound. The feeling of stepping into a chapter I thought was already closed. I wanted to smile. But I was afraid I'd cry if I did. I read the nominees, but the words seemed to come from a body that wasn't mine. Because my mind is still stuck. In the row with the man I once carried in my heart, even though I told myself to let go. Then the inevitable happens, James Dornan is listed. Dakota opens the envelope. I, Jamie, look at her. She looks down at the paper. Then she reads aloud. And the winner is Jamie Dornan. The applause is like a firecracker. The room erupts. I stand because I have to. But my legs are so weak I can barely feel the ground. Dakota stands on stage, smiling, but the smile is not like the smiles she gives the world. It's like a smile for something very personal, very old, and very painful. I step onto the stage. The applause is faint. I hear my heart more. Dakota presents me with the award. And when her hand touched mine, even for a second, all the memories flooded through me like an electric current. 5 years of silence. 5 years apart. 5 years of just looking at each other on screen. And now, we stood close together, under the lights, as if we had never been apart. Dakota said softly, almost inaudibly, "Congratulations, Jamie." Her voice trembled ever so slightly. I looked into her eyes and replied softly, "Thank you, for being here." She took a breath, too softly for anyone else to see. I took the trophy from her. It felt like I was getting back everything I had ever lost. Jamie's speech, not for the audience, but for one person. I turned to the microphone. The lights were bright. The room was silent. Hundreds of people were looking at me. But I was looking at only one person, standing a few feet away, at the edge of the stage. "Dakota," I said, "I could talk about many things tonight. But I want to thank someone for helping me understand that. There are connections that never go away." Dakota paused. I continued. "There are people who come into our lives to teach us how to see the world differently. And even if they don't stay, they stay in our hearts, in a beautiful way." The room applauded. No one knew who I was talking to. But Dakota knew. And I saw, for the first time in years. Her eyes were wet. After the ceremony, finally, the two face each other without the light. That night, backstage, I walked out into the quiet hallway. Dakota was standing alone, leaning against the dark wall, her arms wrapped around her as if trying to retain warmth. She saw me. And we stood still for a few seconds, neither of us approaching, neither of us speaking. As if we were waiting to see if the other was real or just an illusion. I stepped forward. Dakota sighed, very softly. "Jamie, I didn't think I'd see you here." I replied. "I didn't think I'd see you either." A silence. Not heavy. Not painful. Just full of unspoken words. Dakota looked at me for a long time, then she said, "When I saw you on stage, my heart couldn't stand." I swallowed. My voice dropped. "Me too." She smiled lightly, but in her smile there was a rain of memories. A conversation without words, just by eyes. We stood close to each other. No touching. No hugging. No going beyond the limits of each person's life. But our eyes spoke for everything. They spoke of 5 years of longing. Of words not sent. Of nights staring at the TV screen with a tight heart. Of maturity, of distance, of what each person had become. Dakota whispered, "I thought we were at peace." I replied, "I think so too." She said, "But seeing you again, I realized something." I asked, "What?" Dakota looked me straight in the eye, so deep it made time melt. We never ended. We just stopped. I felt my heart explode in my chest. A hug that longed 5 years of silence. I don't know who stepped forward first. All I know is that in a second, I was standing close to her. And in the next second, Dakota leaned against my chest. Not hard. Not in a hurry. Like she had been standing there all her life. I wrapped my arms around her shoulders, hugging her slowly. A hug that held back 5 years. 5 years of not speaking. 5 years of keeping myself. 5 years of remembering until it hurt. She pressed her face against my shoulder and whispered, "Jamie? Just for this moment. Let me feel you like before." I closed my eyes. And for the first time in years, I let myself be vulnerable. "I'm here," I whispered. We stood like that for a long time. Until our breathing became calm again. Last words in the night, no promises, no boundaries, just the truth. Dakota stepped back, looking at me one last time. The hallway light illuminated her face, highlighting her sparkling eyes. She said, "I don't want to ruin your life. But I also don't want to deny what really existed between us." I took her hand gently, not holding, not squeezing. What was between us never disappeared. Dakota nodded. A tear rolled down. Not of pain, but of acceptance. She stepped back. I didn't pull her back. She turned away. But before she turned the corner, she whispered, "A beautiful chapter, not to relive, but to remember." I replied softly, "I will always remember." Dakota smiled, a smile I would carry with me for the rest of my life. Then she disappeared around the corner of the hallway. And I stood there, my heart still trembling, but more peaceful than ever. Where two people meet again to close a beautiful circle. We didn't exchange numbers. No contact requests. No appointment to meet again. No need. What needed to be said was said. What needed to be felt was felt. What needed to be kept was kept. Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson. A nameless, limitless, unending connection. Just two people meeting again. To know that they were never really apart.